Vladimir Putin weighs in on the bloody clash. After several days of intense fighting, Russian President Vladimir Putin has commented on the escalating Ukrainian counteroffensive. "We can confidently say that the attack has begun. The Ukrainian army depleted its strategic reserves, so we know this to be true." Putin reportedly told a reporter on Friday, "This is my first point," in response to their question, as reported by the Russian Defense Ministry's Telegram, mod, channel. "It is blindingly obvious that the Ukrainian armed forces were unable to accomplish their objectives in any of the combat zones." Putin said that intense hostilities have persisted for 5 days. "The enemy has not been successful in any area of operations despite the intense fighting over the past 48 hours. This," Putin said, "was due to the courage and heroism of our soldiers and the good organization and command of the troops, as well as the high effectiveness of Russian weapons, especially the latest weapons." He also said that there were significant causalities among the Ukrainian forces. "It is common knowledge that during offensive operations, losses typically amount to about a 3-to-1 ratio. However, in this case they are significantly greater. I will not reveal the exact numbers, but they are eye-opening." Putin said he cannot say that the offensive has gotten bogged down, despite previously blaming Ukraine for starting the conflict in 2014. "I can only say that the current counteroffensive efforts have been fruitless. However, Kyiv's government still has the ability to launch offensive operations. I have faith that Russia's military leadership has made a sober assessment of the situation and is basing its short-term strategy on that assessment." Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar of Ukraine has hinted at offensive operations in Zaporizhia, but the Ukrainian government has remained largely silent about this. "The enemy is conducting defensive operations in the Zaporizhia direction," she said on her Telegram channel on Friday. "The struggle for position persists. The epicenter," she said, "is still in the eastern part of the battle zone, near Lyman, Bakhmut, and Avdiivka. The enemy is withdrawing reserves and trying to hold the occupied positions in the Bakhmut direction," she said. "Attempts to attack but is unable to. Our defense forces are currently engaged in combat operations in multiple locations along the Bakhmut axis." Maliar also talked about casualties in battle. She sadly remarked, "War is not without losses. The worst, yet unavoidable, losses are human lives. And, alas, they have not yet developed an impregnable military force." She continued, though, saying that modern wars take place in 2 dimensions, real and informational. "In the war of ideas, they are just as formidable an opponent. They are also subject to laws, regulations, and specific duties." Ukraine has, thus far, largely avoided discussing the ongoing counteroffensive. While both sides are engaged in a heated information war and should not be taken at face value, we have previously discussed how the Russians frequently present implausible statistics without providing any supporting evidence. Maliar elaborated on why Ukraine has been relatively silent about the counteroffensive. "The country operates its own highly effective information operation. Russia is using these leaks to coerce Ukraine into disclosing as much personal information as possible. For instance, because of the need to explain or defend. They do this in the hopes that we will get all worked up about it and start refuting the inflated numbers and giving them some data or indirect guidelines. This sheds light on why Ukraine claims it is maintaining informational reserve, though it does little to clarify the operational picture. Maintaining a healthy dose of skepticism toward the trickles of information coming out of this stage of the war is essential. Similarly, it is far too early to draw conclusions about the course of the counteroffensive, despite images emerging showing the first proof of destroyed Bradley fighting vehicles, Leopard 2 tanks, and other donated armor.